Welcome everyone to this Force Friday with me, Mike Mattesi. I want to introduce obviously our two other Force instructors. We have here, let me go to gallery. We have Mritunjay. How you doing, Mritunjay?
I'm doing good, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing well. And Swenley, how's it going?
Good, excited for another critique session. It's been a while now.
Yes, it has been too long. I feel like we're on the Brady Bunch, and like when Swenley talks, I should look down, and make believe that I'm actually looking at you in that cube, and I need to look over at Mritunjay like this. Right. So before we get started today, everyone, let's head over to Photoshop. I wanted to give a tribute to Mritunjay's mom. Jyoti, is that right? Is that how you pronounce her name?
Yep.
Jyoti. Jyoti. Jyoti was a victim of COVID, living in India. She was part of what's going on there. Sorry, this is always hard for me. So anyway, I wanted to do a moment of silence, basically, as respect to not only Mritunjay, but to his mother. So why don't we take a few seconds, like I said, as respect to Jyoti, okay? I'm gonna take my hat off here because that's a US thing to do. And I think that Mritunjay wants to say a couple of words, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. For that
Of course.
moment of silence. That's always like being so respectful. I believe my mom is like really happy looking at this. That everybody's like so respectful to her. So yeah, my message to all of you that you don't, because you're like looking at everything on the news and everything, but it really feels, it really hits in the heart when it really happens to one of your very loved ones. And take my mom as an example, right? It's not just only that hurts, which is like you lost your loved ones, but all the time that you have been looking at those horrors in the hospital. When I was there, it's like every time I was watching like more dead bodies than the live patients, right? So it's like pretty disturbful. The reason why I wanted to bring like to all this, like my mom and everything, is like I want to spread the awareness that the virus is not a joke. It keeps on evolving. Obviously, it's a pandemic thing. It's not, it's just like a normal disease kind of thing, which is like a flu or something. It caught you and you just take some medicines and it goes away. It's not like this, right? So if you're not aware of this thing, and if you're just like, yeah, it's gonna go away even if you caught it, then everything's gonna be fine. Then don't take it like that easy, right? Take it seriously. And the second thing I want to say, that enjoy and cherish every moment that you have while you can, right, with your loved ones, because you're not gonna know what's gonna happen in the future, right? And I have my regrets for my mom that we made a lot of plans, obviously, like we are going doing this, or this we're going gonna be doing this or that, and yeah, we kind of lost our present in making our future. So just cherish every moment, appreciate the present moment that you have, and spend good time with your loved ones, right? So yeah, I want to say thank you for everyone who like paid respect to her, and obviously Mike and Sunli, right? And yeah, just don't worry, I'm fine, right?
Yeah, I mean, you've been doing great. I don't want to put a badge on
Mm-hmm.
jumping ahead too quickly because I don't want you to, and to everyone out there, I'm actually really surprised that you're here. I'm happy you're here, but I'm surprised you're here. And just make sure you take care of yourself, of course.
Yeah.
So thank you, all of you out there, for your condolences for Mritunjay and his mom. And let's move forward, right? So we have a lot of critique to go through today. and I think before I want to add something to Mrityunjay's thing. You know, when this whole COVID thing hit, you know, and I don't normally talk about politics or biology or anything in this program, but it was kind of interesting. I talked to people all around the world, obviously, and for like the first 3 to 5 months, it almost did seem like it didn't exist, like it was a farce, right? And there were a lot of people out there saying it wasn't real, you know, it was a setup, and it almost seemed like that was possible because I talked to people all over the place and nobody had it. And then all of a sudden, it slowly started creeping its way into my conversations. I had students who knew friends that had it, and then all of a sudden, it got really serious, right? And people were actually dying from it. I think I'm just surprised that it got this close, you know? So.
Right.
Yeah. All right, well, I guess I want to thank GOT myself for, you know, being your mom, right?
No worries. I mean, yeah, it's life, you know. We can't control that, you know. We can't like contain anything. It's like
Yeah,
whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. The
yeah,
only thing what we can do is like keep her, always keep your loved ones in your heart. Just remember them and like take all their blessings and just like move on, I guess.
yeah. No, it's true. Remember them, you know?
Yeah, obviously. And if somebody's like want to see my new look, you know, here it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I'm calling him Michael Jordan now. Yeah, look like Jordan. Start playing basketball. All right, guys. Thank you, GLT, for everything that you have done. Let's go on to critique. So I'm going to start today. If you didn't get chosen today, it's nothing personal. We just kind of picked there, you know, there was a pile of submissions that we hadn't looked at in like many, many months. So we just grabbed the ones that we thought, okay, I've got something really to talk about here. Feel free to submit your work again back into that folder. We'll try to do this a little more often. Maybe in another like 2 months or so, maybe we'll do another one of these. Okay. So this is Anthony's here. I'll spread this out. Anthony N. Let's take a look at what we have, right? So at first pass, I would say, wow, pretty awesome, actually, right? There's a lot of really excellent line. The ideas are good. You know, there's lots of good rhythm. It feels like there's sort of undulating force moving through the bodies. Yeah, I would say it's a pretty good start. I would say you're at this place, Anthony, where I would try not to get into too much shape yet. You know, don't worry about this stuff where you're closing off the body like you are. I would stay on course with trying to find the rhythms and the fluidities that are going in here, right? And try to keep figuring out how those paths work. I think you're just getting onto shape a little too quickly. You know, I'd rather have you stay here, find out, you know, what ideas you're trying to present in your drawing. And right now, those ideas should be focused more around where are these forces? How do they dramatically connect into one another? You know, what is the drama of each pose that you're drawing? You know, and get excited about those concepts. But very good. And you've got line on your side at this point already, which is actually really, really powerful because again, line is the language that we're working with, right? So really good. Now I think this is the same Anthony, right? And you could see here, again, you know, you've got a knack for drawing with power and drawing with force. Here it's a different set of tools. So I don't think you have as much control over this tool as you had before. That's fine. My suggestion with that would be, again, you know, one line to me actually equals one idea. It's one concept, right? This is a thought in my mind. You know, I talk about this all the time, the three of us do. But it's another thing to really understand it and swallow it. You know, it's like, look, this guy here, you know, to me, it's the sweeping of his back up into his shoulder. That might be my first idea, right? So I might draw him or draw the back in a way that goes like this. And I'll keep working on that, right? And my line comes in gently. Now, if I was inking, sure, I might have to do this in one shot and do something like that, right? But if not, then I'm going to keep pulling off of the curve of that back and bring it into the shoulder, right? And that's like my first thought. I want this energy of the back, and I want to feel it drive into here. A couple of sessions ago, we talked about the power of the letter J, right? So this would be my J. Notice it's like this, right? There's my letter J. I'm coming from here. I'm giving myself this ramp to pick up speed in the car, and then I'm going to drive into that shoulder like so, you see? And then from that shoulder sweeps, you know, two directions. It goes down into the torso like this, and it opens itself up to getting down that arm, right? And I want to sweep down the arm as well, right? I want to have this thrusting motion in the arm, like shooting its way down the body, you know, to the other leg, right? So all these like active, again, super active verbs are going on in my mind. I'm trying to make these connections happen. I want to think long as I possibly can to try to make those ideas occur. And I'm using line, you know, force line to do so. And if you really start understanding the use of the line and how it represents a concept, your drawings, no matter how much you work on them, they kind of clear up because you get rid of the clutter of over shaky lines or lots of short lines, right? Which kind of make a mess of the drawing. So that would be my other suggestion, you know, with that. I noticed you mentioned LE here. So LE on this one would actually probably be the shoulder that I talked about. I think he's driving this way to get down to here. It wouldn't be down here if that's what you're suggesting. I like that you're trying to call out structure, lots of form. Yeah, it's good. There's a lot of good stuff going on. There's a lot of things that you're doing right, you know. I think this is yours as well. Again, be aware of the concepts that you're after, the ideas that you're trying to create here. Longer lines, better. All right, it's like, what am I trying to say with this pose? I want to drive into the model's shoulder. I want to sweep down the back. I want to feel the rhythm, draw the connections. I want to connect to the top of the thigh like this, into the knee. I want to feel the structure, the tension, right, in the front of that shin over there, right? Don't worry so much about shape. Again, this is where it's at right now for you. See what I'm doing? I'm really staying away from the shape of things, right? A lot of foreshortening here in this arm. And then finally we get to this other arm and it's like this, right? And watch out for straight, like this arm, you just made a straight line. Really try to get some kind of arcing, I would say, in the vast majority of the body and how you're drawing right now, and just keep trying to flow around. Like, I like what you're doing here. This is really worked, this drawing, and I like how worked it is. I like that the ideas feel longer. And see, when I look at this drawing, it feels like you are drawing the idea of saying, you know what, the back here is coming from here and it's making its way up to the hip. You see, like so, right? So that's a thought. It's nice, good, long, fluid, rhythmic thought of how you're like driving up there, right? Okay. So yeah, good. It's good work there. So on this page, in a way, it's the irony of like what I just talked about. I think you're getting good, clean, one-off lines, but I wouldn't rush to go there either. I think you should use what I call the soft touch approach. I would recommend building up your ideas longer so you can really feel stuff out, you know, and then while you're doing that, find where the forces are. Like this one is again in this shoulder, right? And give yourself time to breathe and think about what you're trying to draw, right? Don't try to get to all these immediate lines in just one shot with this very heavy digital brush, right? You see what I mean? And don't worry about getting shapes. Instead, focus more on the connecting, as I've already said, right? And just find all this flow, right? Find the flow, right? And think about it conceptually. You know, I'm trying to drive into the shoulder. I want the stretching of the back. I want the tension in the leg. I want this thrusting downward to this foot, right? That's it. Is you're not here by any chance, are you? You guys haven't seen him up in the chat right now. I don't think so. Okay. All right. My second student is Antonia. All right. Let's see what Antonia sent in. I'm going to try to put these a little more side by side. So we got this one and this one. And then we have this one, right? So lots of form, good line, right? This one especially, man, really, I could really feel the three-dimensional structure of the drawing, you know? It's got a lot of good 3D space in it, but it's not forceful. Even though the line here is actually almost the use of a forced line. You got some good tapered lines, like thick to thins and stuff. Part of it is the pose. I don't know if you drew this out of your head or, you know, or this was actually from a reference. It's hard to tell what's going on, meaning if she's standing, it doesn't feel like her body is taking on the weight of the standing, because it's almost like she's floating, right? Like I don't see the stress of the body working with her feet and the balance of the figure. It's going to be more about like, what's my idea in here? So if I had to take a shot at this, I would say, I want to push a little bit more of the stretch along the front of her body, because it feels like she's slightly pushing her chest out, right? Like this, right? And then I can still get all the perspective that you have in here, right? And the anatomy and so on, but underneath now, I think I have a little bit more of a clearer idea for the whole torso, you know, like I wanted to do something, I guess, a little bit more, you know. You could still add all of her mass and her like voluptuousness on here, right? But underneath it, I want to hold on to some kind of bigger thought. And I'm trying to run an arc through it, right? As you can see. And then with arms and legs, not bad. The leg here does have the beginnings of a sense of flow. It looks like you started getting an out and out here. This one, it's almost the same thing I said to Anthony. You're getting a little bit too much into the silhouette a little too quickly. The shape of this leg that you drew right now is basically like a convex on both sides and then like a concave on both sides. And then all of a sudden we have the knee. You want to stay away from this like symmetry. Here you're double convex, here you're double concave. This leg would be more this way, and then probably just go right down into the knee. And if it's hanging, it would probably go to the back, right? So it would do this to this, and then you can drive down into the foot and all the other stuff you did. But even me just pronouncing more on that side changed the shape, so it's not symmetrical, right? And now it feels clearer that the job of the leg feels clearer, basically, right? Like now I can see how it's driving down like that. Pretty good on the arm too. Arm feels like it's going that way. This one's okay. Obviously, half of it is hidden. And then in her neck, I would want maybe the sternocleido to help balance against the rhythm of the back, you see. This one, even if you have a front view like this, I think I would push into the idea of, hey, I want this guy to have his torso up. That means I'm going to have that angle. If that happens, that means you know, his rib cage is going to be sticking out here, and then you're going to go down, you know, into the pulling of the stomach. And usually, if somebody's going to stretch that much or lift their arm up like that, then they're going to go a little contrapposto in the pelvis, right? So even if I try to keep this all facing me, if this is angling down, usually this will angle up, and you'll have more of the compression here and the stretch here, right? So, and I like that you got the wrinkling idea there, right? So it would probably have some wrinkling there, like so. But if I'm going to push this up and stretch up, right, like this, then I'm going to stretch down, push the apex of the ribs out, and then try to get that into the drawing. Again, shapes here in these legs, they're, in both of these, you're kind of missing the moment in the knee, right? So we want to go from the thigh into the knee. This, by the way, for those of you that love anatomy, this is actually the sartorius muscle that's pulling all the way from the hip. And I'm sort of acknowledging its tension there on the side of the knee, and it stops here at the tibia. So I'm hitting there like that, and then I'm sweeping back down, right? So it's like this. And then the same thing on this leg. So you got outside, inside, outside on both these legs. And I would just push the drama. Look at how much different, you know, the angles, look how much the angles brought to this. Again, we talked about angles a couple of weeks ago. I want to push the drama of that and push the drama of that, push the angle in the ribs, right? Get that point to really poke out a little bit more. So there's more clarity. Again, it's more clarity, right? All right, last but not least, Main note, don't worry about getting to the clean line in a quote unquote finished drawing. Same thing I said to Anthony, give yourself more time to work up the drawing and do more thinking. One of the main things that students don't do is work enough. You know, everyone wants to race to get to like a quote unquote finished drawing, an illustration of a figure drawing. But the best advice I can give you is you got to do a lot of work to get there, right? And a lot of the pros don't show you that. You know, they show you their finished drawings. You don't see how much effort goes into them to get to a place of completion. In time, you'll get good enough to where you won't have to do that much underdrawing. You will actually get to completion quicker, and that's what you're seeing these other professionals do. And you're actually it's not like you draw poorly. You know, you've got quite a bit of skill at this point. It took a lot to get here. But I suggest keep going there. And if you're going to try to work in force, then that's a lot of that work, you know, is to do a lot of underwork first to really try to get the flow and the connection stuff to work in here as much as possible, right? I want to really push into that shoulder. I want to feel the sweeping, you know, that's going to go into this hip like this. I can still get her hourglassness in there, by the way, right? I can get that shape, but I really want to feel how this connects into this, you see? And I'll do this all underwork, no matter what, right? Form, you know, I could do some wrapping in here. I like that looks like you did a little bit of centering, more wrapping, maybe more construction, you know, to get the rest of this to all work well, you know? And my last note to you, because I can see here, some of these drawings also have this issue. Similar to the woman that was on the left-hand side of the screen, the figures in general feel very floaty to me. They don't feel super grounded. So maybe draw an angle between the feet for now, just for you to help try to understand that there's perspective going on. Be aware of the verticality of gravity. You know, if this guy's leaning to the left, then he's got to be doing something on the right, you know, to compensate, right? Like he starts pushing there and over. What's happening over here? I don't know if these are from reference or not. I think they are. But if they are, look for the clues as to how the model is working, right? You have a torso and it's all this weight. And this is half number one, right? First half. Second half is you got the legs. What are they doing to make sure that this torso and head do not fall over? Here's the head, right? As soon as the body goes this way, right? Now it's leaning to the right. You know what? All of a sudden it's harder to just stand there, right? Sooner or later, this person leans to the right and they're going to fall, right? So you want to be aware of the system, be aware of the system of what the upper body is doing, which way is it leaning, and what are the legs doing to help support that whole idea so this person stays in balance, okay?
Can I add something to say,
yeah,
Mike?
Of course.
Because when I look at these figures, it seems that they're interacting with props, especially the female and the male in the middle.
Yeah,
and I would suggest when the figure is interacting with something, like draw the object, you know, even if it's like a scribble, but it's part of the story. So you don't want to leave that out. You know, that's the difference again.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a great note. Very good note. Yeah, like the poll that this guy has, right? Should be in here.
Yeah, exactly. You want to draw the prop so the story is clear.
Yeah. Yeah, if the human body is acting the way it is, it's because of something. And that thing is affecting how the body is relating to gravity again. Like his wrists hanging off of this pole, he should draw the thing. And to Swenley's point, it's not like you have to do a giant, you know, painting or rendering of that thing, but some acknowledgement of it because the body's responding to it. Yeah, it's a very good note. Thank you, Swenley. All right, I think I have my last one, Mimosa. So Mimosa, I love that you drew these arrows in here. You know, it looks like you're trying to say, hey, I think force is going, you know, this way, and this way. And that's all really good. My only recommendation is to try to be excited about those things. The drawings themselves feel very careful and calculated. And if you want to bring some power, you know, some force to your work, this sounds oversimplified, but I would say loosen up, you know, like loosen up, get excited about the ideas that you're trying to have with like, man, I really want to get that push into the shoulder. and her torso is like, it's hanging like this, right? It's like, how are her arms working? You know, I want to feel what it's like for her arm to come down at this angle and sweep down like this, and really feel what that energy is like. You know, this is pushing up, this is hanging down. Those are concepts, you know, they're ideas in my mind that I'm excited by, and I'm trying to illustrate those ideas, right? So you're, like I said, you're very calculative and analytical. You need to bring more of your excitement and passion to the process. It's typically about trust, right? It's like, you need to trust yourself that it's going to be okay. It's okay if you make a mess of it. It's okay if the drawing isn't good, right? You just got to go through the steps of drawing it over and over, which you did, and know, you know, you can do that over and over also, right? It's this mental exercise of, you know, fail fast and fail early and fail a lot, right? So draw quickly and try to feel out the ideas, find the big ideas. How is she working? Being excited about those ideas, iterate on those ideas. It's okay to do it over and over again. Try not to get too caught up in the like perfection of it, you know, the perfectionism of it all, right? And it almost causes like a fragility of psychology, quite honestly, like how fragile one can become. It's easy to break someone who's a perfectionist because of their fragility, instead of somebody who's just willing to work and accept learning and what is working and what's not working, and just keep, you know, iterating and just improving, you know. So try not to worry about creating beautiful, great drawings. Try to have fun drawing and be excited about the ideas that you see in the model. And then the learning is just, do I have the skill to execute? And you'll learn that, right? You'll learn that over time, you know. You have a lot of good stuff going on for you. And man, I would love to see your inner power. I want to see you open up and loosen up a little bit more. And then maybe it gets to this point. Maybe it'll get here. But if it gets to this level of perfection and cleanup, I can promise you it'll have more more wholeness underneath of it, more of the thinking that is going to make the whole thing come together. Okay. Either one of you have anything you want to add to this one before I hand off?
Nope.
No,
Okay.
exactly.
All right. It's all yours, Matunjay, then.
All right. You should be allowing me to share screen, I guess. Oh, that's good. All right. Can you see that?
Yes.
Good, good. So the first student of mine is Rahul. Okay. So yeah, let's see what you're doing with it. So Rahul, you have I got your three works here. The overall thing I would say is I think you're doing it with a pen or ink, kind of thing. So the first thing is because you change like a tool a lot. We draw from a lot of like pencil and the graphite and then all those kind of things. We usually draw like with bold tools because we don't want students to focus on details in the beginning. Okay, and it is pretty easy to focus on details when you have like really small tip, okay, to work on, because it's going to be very precise, okay, and everything. It's not like that you cannot get force out of that, right, and force out of the really small like precise tools, but it's much tough, right? So here, and again, because it's got like no opacity like kind of thing, right, the ink. So it's like pretty hard to like establish connections at the beginning, and then when you just like want to make it more precise, it just like works the way it is. So if I have to like you know duplicate that the same effect in digital space, I would just turn off the opacity and just turn on this one. So my every line that you see is like now an ink line. Okay, so it's got no opacity sensitivity, but the pressure sensitivity is like thick to thin. It's just that. So that is like in ink line. We want you to turn this on. I mean, if you're just like doing it digital, or if you're doing it traditional, that soft touching thing that we're talking about is more of a thinking step. Okay, so you're just like thinking in that whole way and trying to like establish connections at the beginning. Okay, so you know that where things are going, where the forces are going, where they're connecting to each other, and then you're just like making it more precise and more precise and more precise, and as much as you want, okay, as much as you desire. So that, so you're like skipping away that thinking stage like as a whole and just going off to, you're just like jumping to that higher step. Okay. um so that, and this whole thing, you know, that you're doing is like kind of like this kind of thing where you're trying to bring on the form. This all should go like underneath your main like drawing which you want to show. Okay, this is all like the underwork, the underpainting if you want to say like in terms of painting. So the underworld, the all the thinking that went through into making that drawing here. um yeah, and this also save you from making like the marks which are like fixed. Okay, so if you make a mark, okay, like this, and so it is very very dark, so, and you were just like, oh, I made a mistake here. So you cannot like, you will try to like hide it, okay, from others, like, okay, I'm trying to hide my mistakes, I'm trying to hide my mistakes. So in the process you're gonna be messing it up even more. Okay, so, and then you're just going to be doing everything wrong. Okay, so just as an example, we did here and on this leg here, that leg must be going the other way. It's like it's going back into space, not like coming forward, I guess. And this leg, which is coming actually, which is coming forward to us, that should be, you know, that should be like this way. So there's like two direction. Understand that the figure that you're drawing is on a 2D space, on like a 2D surface on paper, but you want to draw it in three-dimensional space. Okay, you're trying to like bring the illusion of three-dimensional on a 2D surface. Okay, that's how you want to think. In the same, and with this other figure here as well, look at how this leg is like really coming forward. You know, imagine looking at this pose really in front of you, like somebody's doing this. So the scale difference is not very much here, like it's not very clear. So this leg, which is like coming forward, um this one is just like coming forward to you, that should be big, right? It should grow bigger and bigger because it's coming towards camera. And this leg, that should be, and that is like going back, right? It's deep into perspective, so it should be more like more like this. You know, I try to do something with this. um so yeah, let's say this leg is more like this, you know, it is like this big. So the other leg would grow like very very big, you know, just due to perspective. So you're trying to like draw everything in like a three-dimensional space, right? If this leg is really this small, this leg would be like very giant kind of thing, right? And this is all the drama is all about, right? You just like want to get excited, as Mike said. The excitement is the thing that will drive your, let's say, the energy, right? Whatever you want to say, right? The excitement to draw something new every time, like something new in every pose. This is the drama, right? Drama can be everything. Here in this pose, I guess the drama is that scale thing that you missed here. Okay. Other thing is, again, you just like want to start from the thinking process, which is, don't make like very precise marks, very dark marks in the beginning. You know, darkness has its value, like in drawing, right? Darkness and the contrast, okay? But it comes at a certain step. You know, you just don't want to like jump too quickly on the darkness. So if you're doing that, you're just like skipping that whole step of thinking, okay? So yeah, that's one of the great tips for you. Here also, look, like out of getting force out of pen, or getting that line quality out of pen or ink, I guess that's like a ballpoint pen, it's like very very tough, you know, because yeah, that's like so precise. I mean, it's not very excited to draw with like a needle pointed ballpoint pen, right? You're much better with the pencil, obviously. And these kind of papers, I guess, there are the like those photocopier type of paper, which are like rough. Okay, you see like a lot of texture in them. So you're better with the pencil, right? It's very very clear that you're better with the pencil. And here that you can see like a little bit of like thinking like going on. Okay, so this is what we want in the beginning, right? That's what we want. So yeah, here you're going, I guess you're going the right way. So don't like jump to very higher steps like drawing with ballpoint pen or drawing very dark. Just start lightly, like, okay, just start simple. And one of the things is like, everybody can be complicated, right? If I invest if I like waste a lot of time on that, that will drawing will become complex. But not everybody has the ability to be simple, right? So it's the opposite. You might think like, yeah, being complicated is far better, right? But no, being simple is far better, I guess. And mm, yeah, like everybody don't have that kind of ability to do this. So work on being simple at first and then go as complex as you desire. Okay. All right. And yeah, this one, the same thing. See, you're better with the pencil, right? You're not. I mean, you can be here. You can obviously do that. There are like other very great artists and masters that do this. Frank Frazetta being one. He's like drawing with a ink brush and still able to pull everything together, like rendering and form and stuff. And yeah, you must be looking at his work. But that requires a lot of like mastery, right? Once you understand the basics, then you can just like move on and do whatever you want, right? So yeah, keep doing this, keep doing these things. And you can include like all the other critiques that, let's say, the Mike uh, mentioned and the Swenley is going to mention, that like kind of floor, that figure doesn't look very grounded. Okay, so give a base for a figure to stand on. Keep the connections alive, keep that thinking alive, as I said. And yeah, you're just do good, yeah. Moving great. All right. um so the second one is Anne, right? Anne. The reason why I choose Anne's work, when we are like deciding who's going to take what, I want to talk about the expressiveness of the line here. Okay. And yeah, it's not very, like it doesn't feel like very connective at the it seems like random ideas. But one of the things I like about it is you're like very carefree. It's like, okay, I'm just like gonna make that line. It's gonna I don't know if it's gonna make a meaning or not, but I'm just gonna make it. And one of the great things is I want to see in any student is the confidence to draw. Okay. And I think you have that. So you have that confidence of drawing this line. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna draw this line, then I'm gonna and then you're just like pushing random ideas out of it. So that's the thing where you gotta improve. Is like, remember that every line that you make is an idea, okay, and that should contribute something to that drawing. It should not be like random, just like sitting there doing nothing. Okay, it should play a role. That's one of the things. So let's say we talk about this line here. What does it mean, right? That's an idea. That's a line. Obviously, that's your idea. You made it intentionally. So what does it show here, right? And that it's going here, it's forming a hoop, and then that's going back to the other to this direction. But what does this loop mean right here? So these type of things, you should be asking yourself question: what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? Okay, I just like want this hand to be expressive. And if I remove this, there's gonna be no effect on that expressiveness of the drawing, right? Expressiveness of the pose of the hand that you're drawing this from. So yeah, that line is just sitting there doing nothing. Okay. And we're not saying that be limited on your strokes, just make like limited strokes, use as many strokes as you want, but that every stroke that you make, it should contribute to something. Okay, so we do make a lot of lines, right? We just like do this all the time, like this, okay, like drawing over and over again over the same stroke. But look, they're telling a story. They're just like, okay, I'm doing this to feel that speed or feeling that direction. Okay. And it's all the lines are actually telling the same story. It's like going in this direction or going in this direction, right? So it's very different than this, right? So right now, again, as you can see, I use the almost same amount of strokes in the second drawing. I mean, the second illustration here as well. But look, they're not contributing. They're not uniting and telling the same story. They're just like, oh, I'm going here, I'm going here, I'm going here, and that's how they are all working. So yeah, don't be limited by your strokes. That's not what I mean. But every stroke that you make it should do something. It should tell a meaning. It should have a role to play, okay, in your drawing. The confidence is, again, which I like about this, that you have, that you're doing, like, yeah, you're kind of like doing this wobbly kind of thing, but look, they're just like, you're just like doing it carefree, okay, which you can use as a positive side to your drawings in your future journey, okay. um don't worry about anatomy a lot. I mean, don't focus on the contours or the anatomy a lot. So as you can see, all the lines on the contours, they're just like very dark, okay, which is telling me that you're focusing on getting the shape first of all, and then just like maybe detailing up. So yeah, just stay away from that. Instead, what you should do is you can go, okay, I just like want my connections to flow first of all, so I'm gonna go in here. This is how it goes, okay, and I'm just like making my connections, like the oppositeness from force, okay? It's like with this, just like flowing like a river. So first of all, like establish all those connections. Is like, oh, this fingers this finger is more like this, right? And if I remove all this, you see like the connections that really started to happen here. If I do it like this, so I'm just like, what I'm doing, I'm just like making connections here. You see? And then you can make it as complicated as you want. You put like all the bumps and the details on top of this. Is like doing this and this, you know yeah. And then you can make it as rendered as you want, okay. So yeah, focus on the ideas and don't make like lines which are like too random doing nothing, right? Remember that one line is one idea, okay. How much time you got?
Maybe a couple more minutes.
All right. Same thing here, right? So this is Anne's work. Yeah, the expressiveness which I like about this. But again, there's like so many lines which are like making, which are not doing like too much, okay, in here. So yeah, my great tip for you is just remember that line is an idea, line is our language, okay. It's like when you remember this thing, line is your language, you repeat this same thought again and again, you're gonna understand it. Because let's say we are communicating, just like putting random words in between, so you're not gonna understand those things, right? Same with the drawing. Lines is a language, so if you're just like randomizing those things, it's not gonna make a clear meaning to it, okay. All right, thanks for submitting. And here's Nikita. Mm, yeah. So Nikita has been very clean, right? You see, like you're doing a lot of, like just like one idea, like one line, and you're very opposite than Anne's work, because she's just like putting random ideas. That she's confident in putting lines, but you're not. You're just being too limited. Again, calculated. Though that word is great here. So you're being limited. You're bounding yourself and not thinking much. Okay. The lines feel same, that feels same all over the body. So I cannot figure it out where the force is or where the model is feeling the most pressure, okay. So those kind of things that you should feel in your drawing. That is the communication that we're going for, okay. The life that we're talking about. And again, don't go for the anatomy and everything. So as you can see here, you just like connected the center to the back, okay, which yeah, it's just really not possible. What you should be doing is connecting the front to the front, and then going to the back, front to back. So it should be more like this. But yeah, remember, just go for the feel of the gestures. Like if he's like stretching out slightly like this, so maybe you just like want to make some connections here, and then like really feel the stretch of this hand here, right? Those kind of things, just just watch the model and see like what your quickest reactions to this that is. And if you're doing the same pose, how are you going to feel it, where the force is, and then just make the connections, and then try to put all the word that you want over that, okay. And stay away from shape, see, again, you're making like a symmetrical kind of shape here, which is like killing the force, okay. So it's not allowing the force to like move on to the leg there. The same thing, same thing in everyone. Here you're doing great, just like improving your, really feeling the force here in the bottom side, which is like, okay, she's hanging, and there's like a effect of gravity on that. So this is far better, right? This is far better. Yeah, we just want to stay away from shape. It's just like, you know So doing something like this, you can just make a connection, make a very strong connection. That's gonna make it far better, right? That's good. Yeah, same thing. Yep, good. So thanks for submitting. I'm gonna hand it over to Sony now. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrityunjay.
Yeah, awesome.
All yours, Mr. Swen.
All right. You guys see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. So let's get started. Let's see. Let me open this up. So this is Sibel or Sibel. I don't know which one. Hopefully one of the two is right. But yeah, so pretty good drawing actually. Like the first thing that I notice is the clarity of the idea in this model store. So you can clearly see the stretch and how that stretch continues all the way into her arm. So that's great. That's great. When I look at like the big picture of the pose, it almost feels like the figure was leaning against a wall or interacting with something, because otherwise it feels like she would be falling. So again, if the figure is interacting with a prop or with the environment, especially when the proper environment helps the figure keeps balance, you want to include that. It's part of the story. It's super important. So please don't leave it out. Let's see. So the torso action is pretty clear. Now you get this squash and stretch going on. You even have some overlaps. Now you're using the clothing to show the roundness. Oh wait, now I notice that I'm drawing right on top of the image. Let me quickly go back. Let's see. Yeah, this is better. So this is great right here. Great ideas. You're showing volume. I would include the center line. Again, you want to be problem solving, and put as many lines as necessary for you to really understand what's going on. You really want to leave clean lines for the cleanup stage. This is still the stage of sketching, of analyzing and understanding. So I'm getting the V shape here of the pelvis. Now, once I reach the legs, like this leg right here, it becomes unclear to me how this leg is working. If we bring back the analogy again of storytelling, like in the torso, the story is super clear. But once I get here, I'm like, okay, I don't understand what you're trying to tell me. Like, how is the leg working? So you want to bring the same clarity that you have in the torso action into the action of the leg. And it looks like this leg is facing us, judging from the shape you drew here for her foot. So that means that this leg would be outside, inside, outside. Then we go to the inside ankle and over the arc here, which brings us to the outside of the foot. And then you get this foot shape that you drew here. So the leg would be working like this, so now it's clear what that leg is doing. Let's see, in this leg right here. Yeah, this one is clear, and I wonder, because of what this leg is doing, it almost feels like this leg would be working as one curve at the front, which drives us into the heel, the top of the foot, and you would have like this squashing going on here. Now, and here again, you use the clothing, I think, to show some form, which is great. I usually use wrapping lines at key areas, especially the ankle and the wrist, to give me a bit of form. So once you have the functionality, then you can come in here and start drawing the smaller forms of the anatomy. See, so this is great. You're driving from the stretch of the torso into the shoulder, so great connection here. I would say continue that clarity into the arm also. You would go at the arm bends as one curve at the back, at the elbow sides. Then go into the hand. This is hanging. Use a wrapping line near the wrist to give some form. And same here, like this is a trickier position. Like it really helps to understand the anatomy, but from a structural standpoint, you have like this, what Mike calls, I think, the deltoid tunnel. And then you have the volume of the arm, like emerging. You have this arm cylinder like emerging from that. Now to get some better sense of form in that area. And for the neck and head, let's see, what would that be doing here? Because she's looking up. Yeah, I think we have this rhythm coming from the back into the neck and head. She would be looking up, which means the chin would be around here. We would have the ear. And it's time to use the neck muscle, the sternocleidomastoid muscles, which creates this kind of triangle in front of the neck. Yeah, so again, great start. Just bring more of the clarity that you had in the torso. Continue that throughout the whole body. Really be clear with the force curves and how everything connects. Okay, let's go to the next one. We have Sandra. So at first glance, look pretty good. Like the action, the story is clear. There's a sense of perspective going on, like his feet feeling firmly planted on the ground plane, which is great. And the drawing is overall pretty fluid and energetic. And again, the action is very clear. I can see like what the story is here. And I would say work more on the forces and the form. Like you went into shape really fast. And just to clarify, when we tell you guys to stay away from shape, it doesn't mean that shape is bad and you shouldn't use it. Like the problem is when you go to shape too fast, and then you forget or don't put enough force and form into the drawing, and it starts flattening out. So work more with force and form. And it's here. I just would do more of it. Now you have this clear like S curve going on for the torso here. This is hanging. This is great. So add more information, like where's the center line? Where's the spine? All the way down here to the rear end. Draw the top of the pelvis, and how those thighs insert into it. Again, it's storytelling. All those lines that I'm putting down, they help clarify what's going on. So as you notice here, I'm using shape, but I'm using it in combination with force and form. And now that I'm looking at the angle of this foot, I think this leg would work Because front to back kind of feels broken. I almost want to like add this curve here, then drive into the heel. This feels like a more natural and stable connection. So when I'm drawing the shape, like first of all, notice that the first thing I draw is always the forces, and then I add shape or form and shape to that. Now here again, I'm drawing the forces, finding that fluidity and connectivity. Now, once I have that, then I start adding the shapes and the forms. Now, one quick way to add form is just using wrapping lines, to show which direction things are going. Here I would connect the shoulders, look for the big relationship. This arm, again, is thrusting arm, one force curve for the back into that hand. Now once I have the force curve, I can develop form and shape on top. So this arm is coming towards us. This arm is going away from us. Again, you want the clarity of its function. It's spanning as one curve. Because of the perspective, be aware that this hand that is farther away from us would be much smaller than this one coming towards us. So this is going away. And once you reach the head and neck, you don't want to lose that fluidity. You want to continue and draw them with the same amount of looseness and force. And then you can continue working on this and adding more information, adding the rib cage, for example. Then you can start getting into more of the anatomy, if you have that knowledge. So more work needs to happen. Again, this is a good start. Just want to clarify it a bit more. Let's see, we've got just a few minutes left, so let me quickly go to Nick. So Nick has some pretty good drawings. It seems like Nick is trying to work with shapes. Yeah, so these are pretty good. Let me just use this one as an example. Go with this a bit more. Let's see. So good things going on here. Like again, the story is clear. I would say work more with the forces. Like it's happening in some places. Like in this leg, for example, you have a clear idea of what this leg is doing. But then when we reach here, it's almost seems like you shift into a different way of thinking. Same for this arm. All of a sudden it becomes very angular. While in the torso, at the back, for example, you have this clear action going on, this clear curve. It's pinching at the front. So make sure you continue in that same mind space, throughout the whole drawing. Also feel the flow of energy and how everything is connected. Like Matunje mentioned earlier, it's like a river, flowing. There is a certain connectivity going on. Like same here, you want that curve at the front of the thigh to direct you. Now, if I draw an arrow here, it should direct me towards the curve of the calf, which brings you to the top of the foot, into the toes. Now again, so it's like this flow of energy or water, directing you from one place to the one place to the other in the body, and that's what makes someone look at your drawing and say, "Whoa, it's really fluid," because these simple curves are leading the eye seamlessly from one place to the next. Same here. You want to connect into that shoulder and really feel that thrusting arm and how this is like hooking around the staff. And once you have the forces, then you can come in here and start developing shapes and forms and build it more. So for those of you that want to work with shape, think of it more in terms of like a sculptor. If you're a sculptor and I give you the assignment to create a figure, you can start with flat shapes. You start with a chunk of clay, you start with mass, and you keep massaging it and massaging it, and you arrive at shape. If you look at those great maquettes from the old Disney films, for example, like they're super stylized, shape based, but it's real, it's three-dimensional. So the artist had to arrive at those shapes. You don't just start with flat shapes. You want to let shape come out of force and form. Okay, I think time's up.
Thank you, Swenley. Yeah, actually, that was a lot of the conversation that has been going on in the chat is what you just mentioned, which is, you want to know your forms and understand when you draw shape, it's the shape of a form. And that's the trap that students fall into if they get into shape too fast. You draw shapes and they fall flat because those shapes have to be of forms themselves. So you have to understand form before you can actually really get into the shape successfully. I mean, you can go draw a shape, but chances are you're going to be doing it in a very flat manner.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Thank you for coming today. Thank you, Mattesi and Swenley, for your hard work as always. We had some good conversations there, I think, at the end as well about form and shape. Force is first. You want to figure out what's happening. It's functionally trying to find rhythms, understand how a body is working. You want to go into forms and understand how force moves into three-dimensional space, right? So force is not a two-dimensional idea, it's three-dimensional, and that leads to the sculpting of the body. And then that sculpting will very naturally lead you to having to create shapes, right? So one thing builds right on top of the next and top of the next. Typically in the end, when I can get somebody to understanding forceful shape, then you can actually start to draw with forceful shape because the shape is defining a form. But I don't recommend going to shape before that. We want to take the long road, believe it or not. The long road is the better road. I've tried the short road. I've experimented with students in the past. It did not work. It took a lot longer to get out of the flatness and two-dimensionality and the allure of shape design without the underpinning of understanding structure. So force, form, shape, just follow through the books, follow through the website. Believe me, I went through a ton of iteration and experimentation to finally come to that conclusion, because I actually thought it would make sense to go to shape first as well. And I unfortunately experimented for a while and many students out there to see which one was right and what was wrong. So that's it. Thank you again, everyone. Thank you for all your condolences today. Thank you, Mattesi, for even coming in today. And we will see all you guys next Friday. If you're interested, a couple of things. If you're interested in submitting work, the link to the Dropbox is in the description for the videos. We'll probably do it in again a month or two, I would say. And Albert is still out there waiting to be found. So yeah, there is a package of free force bundle waiting for the person to find him. Remember, it will be in a video feed of me in the top right corner of the screen in that tiny little video, and he'll start popping out of the edges of the frame. So go and find Albert, give me a time code and a video, and I'm more than happy to hand over a force bundle to the winner. All right. Take care, everyone. Thanks again, guys. And we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.